The chakras and astrology, what is the connection? Let's start with a quote, curiously, from astrophysicist Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson. He was asked by an interviewer from Time magazine, what is the most astounding fact that you can share with us about the universe? And he gave a beautiful, uh, precise, and poetic description of the origins of this physical universe from an astrophysical perspective. But the punchline, the heart of the message was this. He says, we are in the universe, but perhaps more important is that the universe is in us. And this is an answer that echoes a timeless and ancient teaching of mystics from all over the world. We are part of life and not apart from life in any way. Hermes Trismegistus, the mythic, perhaps historical, perhaps sage that initiated the ancient Western wisdom tradition, said, as above, so below. And it often ends there. But the quote was, as above, so below. As within, so without. As the universe, so the soul. And this is a more complete quotation, a more complete statement of the perennial philosophy, the perennial wisdom and revelation. The ancient yogis of India would state it this way. They would make the statement while gently touching the finger to the point between the eyebrows, and they would say, that which is here is everywhere. That which is not here is nowhere. So in this primal revelation, there's a sacred correspondence, or as Thich Nhat Hanh says, an interbeingness with life. But it's not only physical. The above of the stars that the astrophysicists point to is indeed right here below in the very fabric of our physical bodies. But sages and mystics of all traditions have pointed out that we are not only a physical body, and that the universe itself is not only physical matter, that consciousness itself is within and without. Consciousness is all pervading. Consciousness is ever present, the very essence of all that is. And this consciousness, in its true essential nature, can never be witnessed. It is the seer of all, and in its expression can endlessly be witnessed and known. The vastness of the universe, the yogis would say, is the physical expression. Some traditions would say the reflection. Some would say the permutation of the vastness of consciousness, which indescribably transcends conceptual thought in all directions, in all dimensions, outward, inward. And yet, the indescribable graciously makes itself known right here, right now, in the immediacy of your very life, the immediacy of this moment as you're hearing and listening to this. Now, in their devotion, in their commitment to having more and more profound levels of intimacy with life itself, the yogis, meditators, and mystics have discerned that there is a structure to all that is. There's a structure to the physical universe, discernible as patterns of wholeness from the very, very micro level to the very, very macro level. And one example of this wholeness is our solar system, which is that local sector of time and space within which the Earth resides that we call our home at this time. We need to clean up our house, perhaps. Since ancient times, humans have looked up at the solar system as a sacred expression, a sacred revelation. They've looked at the rhythms of the sun and the moon, the dancing movement, cyclical movements of the planets as a sacred teaching, as a patterned expression of the lawfulness of the cyclical unfolding nature that characterizes not just the above, but also the below, not just the without, but also the within. There is a cyclical and lawful nature to the unfoldment of consciousness. And this is why the yogis, the mystics of other schools as well, have said and pointed out that there is an inner solar system. Just as there is an outer solar system, there is an inner solar system. Just as there is a sun outside, there's a sun inside. The very nature of the outer sun, its warmth, its life-giving qualities, its capacity to illuminate, is not just in the sky, but also within. There is an inner sun, a source of warmth, a source of life, a source of illumination within. This inner sun, or as the Kriya Yoga School says, this sun center in consciousness is as central to our inner psyche, to our soul, as the external sun is to the solar system within which the earth resides. And the meditators and the mystics, the shaman, the yogis, the contemplatives of all traditions in their inner practices have come into contact with this inner sun, this inner light. They've named it many things, the radiance, the all-seeing eye. But the experience is that of the illumination. In the Bible, it says, when the eye is single, when we return to that sun center, the whole body is filled with light. Not just the physical body, but the cosmos. Not just the physical cosmos, but the soul, the psyche, filled with light. The cosmos and the psyche, the universe and the soul reflect each other. And finding this correspondence is a critical or essential aspect of the esoteric path, of the inner path of the yogi. Now, traditionally in Kriya Yoga, the contemplative and meditative and energetic practices were taught in concert with and practiced along with the study of sacred astrology. Not astrology of the what is going to happen to me variety. Not astrology of the am I going to get married this week or am I going to get a raise this week astrology. Not the astrology of is it going to be a good or a bad month. Those are all forms of astrology. But in the contemplative and awakening journey of the yogi, astrology shifts from being centered on satisfying the ego needs or avoiding what the ego doesn't want. It becomes rather, astrology becomes a meditative map that rewinds our awareness from the surface of existence to the depth, that guides us from the fragmentation of reactive living to a conscious attunement to the sacred wholeness that is the very nature of the soul and of your being. Now, the structure of the solar system thus is mirrored, according to these teachings, in the structure of the chakra system. That's the connection. There is an inner sun, there is an inner moon, a Mercury, a Venus. There is an inner Mars, an inner Jupiter, Saturn. There is an inner zodiac. and meditatively following the astrological map of the soul, meditatively communing with the inner solar system, moves our consciousness as a meditator, they would say in the ancient texts, from darkness to light, from struggle, we might say, to sanity, from a highly limited and restricted consciousness to the matured consciousness of a sage, perhaps even of an awakened one. Now, this journey, this inner journey, is symbolized in many ways. The alchemists called it the journey from transmuting lead, which is Saturn, to gold, which is the sun. But virtually every myth, every saga, every sacred story, as Joseph Campbell has pointed out, follows a structure of trials and triumphs that correspond to the inner journey of the chakras, follows the inner astrological map of your soul back to the very source of existence. Now, yogically, the astrology becomes a map, therefore, an inner pathway that moves from our conditioned, socially conditioned, karmically conditioned identity back to our cosmic identity. And in the process, releases us from all of these conditioned self senses to awaken back to the vastness of your true nature. As we become students of the chakras, students of astrology, as we attune to the inner narrative, the inner map, and awaken to the presence of the solar system within, then we will discover for ourselves the embodied truth that as above, so below, as without, so within, as the universe, so the soul.